So did you hear about Ben Askren fighting against Jake Paul?
I did, man. Wild, wild shit. Listen, I seen this tweet that went out earlier. It said some shit along the lines of, if you knock out Jake Paul, Ben Askren, us, the MMA community, will forget your 5-second knockout loss to Ben Askren. Just beat him.
Jake Paul called Ben Askren's wife thick in an interview with Ariel Helwani. This is the level I'm talking about right now. The level of IQ we're talking about right now. Calling the wife of the fighter thick.
Thick. I mean, he ain't lying. She is kind of thick too, but
No,
not in a
come
bad
on,
way
don't
at
say
all.
that.
Not
Don't
in
say
a
that.
bad way at all. Hey, listen. She could be thicker than a Snickers. I'll still take a bite.
Oh my god. Okay, right. That wasn't the point that I wanted to make, but whatever. Okay.
I know you were trying to say I'm thick, huh?
No, I'm just saying that Jake
Little
Paul is
dirty
piece of shit.
Frenchie.
I'm not a Frenchie.
And you know who else is a piece of shit? This guy.
I know.
5, 4, 3, 2. All right, guys, welcome back to yet another edition of a Native MMA Radio. I feel like we always fucking start that same exact way, but oh well. Here we are yet again. One of my favorite things to do. We are going to be recapping an amazing weekend. UFC 257 is in the books. The return of Conor McGregor happened, but let me tell you what, it was not what we expected at all. Dustin the Diamond Poirier goes in there, knocks out the Notorious One in the second round, 2 minutes and 32 seconds into that round. It was an amazing performance by Dustin the Diamond Poirier. He took some of Conor's biggest shots. He was able to withstand them at 155 pounds, and he was able to go ahead and put his own damage on him, finishing the former lightweight champion of the world. I'm excited for this trilogy fight, man.
Well, man, I think the trilogy should happen. Not sure about if it should happen now. We were supposed to record on Monday, I think so. But you know what? I'm not mad that we didn't record as early as possible. I think that having now waited a little bit to think about more of the performance of Conor and Dustin, is better now.
Listen, I feel like I'm able to appreciate more what Dustin was able to do. When you look at all the craziness going into it, I believe John Kavanaugh said that this was always going to be in the back of Dustin's head, the first performance, how he was knocked out by Conor McGregor. And it was an interesting tidbit that Dustin said to Conor after the fight. He said something along the lines of, your coach was right.
Yeah.
I will never forget, but I can forgive myself for that first performance. And it just shows how much of a man has grown right before our eyes. He was a young man coming into the UFC at 145 pounds. And now we've seen, a father, a very, very big, I wouldn't say a businessman because he's not really running his own business. He's almost running a charity. He's a very charitable man. What he's able to do with the Good Fight Foundation is amazing. Conor, I believe, donated like $50,000, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Crazy amount of numbers. And what Dustin is able to do, for the kids in Louisiana who are less fortunate is just beyond what normal people do. I mean, our own senators don't even do that much. And yet you have a guy here who is a cage fighter, and who literally, from at one point people looked at as human cockfighting, is out there doing what he can for his community because other people won't. I feel like that is super commendable, and I'm excited about what the future has in store. Like I said to you, man, I feel like Saturday night was supposed to originally answer a bunch of questions, but it left us with more answers than anything.
Yeah, a lot of unanswered questions and new questions. What's next for Conor? Who's next for Dustin? Because even who can fight for Dustin, it's not clear at all who should be fighting. People say Charles Oliveira. I kind of agree, but after seeing what Michael Chandler did, you need to put him in the equation. So there's a lot of unanswered questions. So fun time to be a UFC fan.
The performance that Michael Chandler put on was amazing. He really went in there and walked down Dan Hooker. He bullied him the entire fight. He kept Dan Hooker never took a step forward. It was constantly on his back foot the 2 minutes and 30 seconds that Chandler was in there. Chandler landed a huge right hand. It was all she wrote. My thing is, With that win, you just elevated the profile of every Bellator lightweight right now. You also just elevated the profile of their lightweight champion, Patricio Pitbull, because that is the man who knocked you out clean, in my opinion. And it just really solidifies how big Bellator's lightweight division and how big the lightweight division is just throughout the sport. When you look at guys that were jumping to Bellator, you look at their champion, Patricio Pitbull. We look at a future potential challenger, the featherweight phenom right now, AJ McKee, is big enough to make 155. And I feel like that's a future division he's going to go ahead and take over before one day we see him in the UFC as well. Amazing performance, though, by Chandler. He really answered a lot of questions. Like I said to you on our show before this, he had the most pressure on him for legacy, because if he didn't win this fight, he wasn't getting another shot. Conor losing this fight can come back and beat Dustin again and beat Nate and be right back in the thick of things. Had Chandler lost to Hooker, he would have never touched that UFC lightweight gold. With that win against Dan Hooker, he's on his way. Let's jump into the whole card. Let's go deep right into it. Very first fight of the night, Amir Albazi taking on Zhalgas Zhumagov. Beautiful decision victory for Amir. He was able to land more significant strikes than Zagata, 68 to 59. The biggest thing, though, was the takedowns. Obviously, being able to control your opponent, too, like he was able to do in the third and final round, was huge.
Yeah, that's for a first fight of the early prelims, man. That was a high-level fight, really high level. Amir Albazi really showed that he is very, very, very good, and that we need to see more of him in the UFC. Zhalgas really tried to put a lot of pressure in the first fight with that first takedown, and he was trying to put the pressure. But Amir, man, his striking is clean. DC been saying it during the whole fight, and he wasn't wrong. His striking is clean. He had two takedowns in the second and third round. Beautiful decision, man, and I really enjoy watching this type of fight because it's really high level competition.
It was a beautiful performance by Amir. I can't wait to see what's next for him. The flyweights just continue to impress me every time we see them, and I feel like I'm continuously going to say this. I'm glad that division is still around.
Thanks to Henry Cejudo. Really, even though he's a piece of shit sometimes, but thanks to him, really we are looking at a amazing division. He really saved the division, and that was good.
Yeah, 100%. Nick Lentz took the L this week in what would possibly be his last fight ever. You talked about it earlier. Movsar Evloev goes in there, puts a beating on Nick Lentz. Split decision victory. In my opinion, it was not that close. I thought it was very one-sided. Moser in the first round was able to secure a takedown. He controlled Nick the entire time, pretty much. Pretty much the same thing in the second round, and then in the third round just completely outstruck Nick Lentz. I thought it was a unanimous decision victory. It is what it is. It was still a victory, but Nick Lentz, what did you say? Something happened to his eye, I believe.
Yeah, so Nick Lentz lost like 40% of his capacity to see. So this is definitely his last MMA fight. Personally, it's a kind of a sad story because Nick Lentz been around the UFC like forever. If you're a UFC fan, you've seen him fight like your whole life. That's what I did personally. I'm not mad at the type of fight. I think that it proves that Movsar Evloev really is a top fighter and he should be in the UFC. But yeah, sad for Nick Lentz. This type of injuries is like you don't want to see that. But you know, these fighters, like we talked about it last week. We said that he's one of the last crazy type of MMA fighters in the UFC
willing to take on anybody at any time.
That made the UFC great. So there is no regrets on his side for what happened. So it is what it is. Nick Lentz, not a bad performance, but Movsar really, we can't wait to see him fighting against maybe someone in his level.
We've seen a ton of decisions. The first, what was
Yeah.
it, 3, 4 fights were decisions. Khalil Roundtree lost a decision to Marcin Praxino. I fucked his last name up, but oh well. Let me tell you what, though. Khalil Roundtree looked very well, even though he did lose. But Marcin, man, looked phenomenal. A guy at light heavyweight that was able to throw that many strikes. He didn't throw any less than 30 strikes in the entire any of his rounds.
Yeah.
And he in the first round hit with 55% accuracy. In the fourth round, 45%. In the third round, 43%. So it did drop a little bit, but great numbers in the opening round. Obviously, was able to touch up Khalil Roundtree at will.
Well, to outstrike Khalil is no easy job to do. So
Yes.
for Marcin to be able to do that, and knowing how dangerous Khalil is and the crazy power he has to be able to control the fight striking wise, that's no easy job to do. And Marcin looked very, very good doing it.
I am excited about what is in the future of Marcin. I don't really know who you put him up against next, though. I mean, I would love to see him maybe crack the top 15, but I feel like there's so many killers right there in that 15 through 10. It's almost unfair to throw him in there.
Well, there's some divisions that we have like really unanswered question or who should be fighting what or whatever. And I feel like the light heavyweight division, ever since John Jones moved to heavyweight and Jan Blachowicz became the champion, the top ranking really is mayhem. You don't know who should be fighting next, and you don't know. So
for sure,
personally, I feel like he should be fighting anyone they give him, because if there's a time to capitalize and try to really climb that ladder quick, it's really the time.
Juliana Pena goes in there, gets the beautiful rear naked choke submission victory, 3 minutes and 39 seconds into the third round against Sarah McMahon. She calls out the champ afterwards. Do you think that she's done enough to start calling out Amanda Nunes? Because we talked about it before. All it really takes is about a 2-fight win streak in that division, and you're considered a contender.
Well, yeah, exactly. You don't need a lot of wins. Consecutive wins to be calling out the champ. But I really like it, calling out the champ, not being scared at all. I think that's what should happen. I'm not saying that she will win against Amanda Nunes, but I would rather see a fighter wanting to fight the champion, not being afraid. That's what we need. We don't need like people saying, yeah, she's too strong or whatever. No, that's not how the fighting games work. And that's what I want
nowadays.
Exactly. That's what I want to see. I want to see fighters calling, even though they don't really deserve it, but just to have that fire in her that she wants to fight the champion. It's good. Yeah, definitely.
Brad Tavares gets the unanimous decision victory over Antonio Carlos Jr. Let me tell you what, man, those Hawaiians at Extreme Couture have just putting in some killer work here in the octagon. We have another one coming up. Coco Baum's taking on Julian Marquez here soon. I'm excited to see what Brad Tavares can do. You know that he lost Israel Adesanya, and then he dropped another one right after that to Edmund Shabazian. Looked great against Shoeface. Antonio Carlos Jr. At one point was talked about as a potential title, contender one day in this division. Since then, he has dropped from his graces, but a very beautiful performance by Tavares.
Yeah, first win in 3 years. I feel like a lot of pressure been dropped out of his shoulders after this win. A beautiful win against Antonio Carlos Jr. A close fight, I will say, even though I feel like Brad Tavares did enough to win the fight, but Antonio Carlos Jr. was definitely hanging on, and a fighter like Antonio Carlos Jr. is very dangerous. But Brad Tavares, man, really happy to see him on the winning column again.
Well, most important thing, in my opinion, was 11 takedown defenses that he had.
Yeah.
Fucking amazing, man. I feel like that is one stat that is not scored enough, especially in the eyes of the judges. But to stop somebody 11 times from taking you down is super impressive. To be able to do that, throughout 15 minutes is even more impressive if you think about the cardio that he had to exert just to, keep him off of him. Antonio Carlos Jr. is he's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So his takedowns are superb.
Yeah, and Brad Tavares, man. Like I said, after winning this fight, I feel like a lot of pressure been dropped out of his shoulders. I feel like he will even perform even better in his next fight. You can see it in his eyes and hearing him after that post-fight interview that he did, like in the press conference. He was very happy, and you see that when someone like is relieved, it's like taking a big shit. You've been holding it the whole day, and you take it. You feel lighter. You see
He
that in
needed to
his
get
face
that
that he was
off him.
lighter. Yeah. He took a big shit. So that's what happened. And I'm happy for him. I'm happy that he took a big shit.
I'm excited to see what's next for Mr. Brad Tavares.
Yeah.
I could even think maybe you get the loser of that Brunson fight, Kevin Holland Brunson. That'd be an interesting matchup.
He should be calling. He should be calling the loser of the fight. Yeah.
Arman Sarkian taking on Matt the Steamroller Favola. That was the one that switched super last minute. We actually found out about it as we were recording last week. Matt Favola's original opponent, now that we have more information on it, was cut from the UFC. The dude
crazy
and
story.
His team took their bracelets off. Obviously they were checked for COVID. These bracelets are you're supposed to keep them on at all times. They cut their bracelets off, gave them to other people. When security came up to the room, the dude jumped and fucking hopped over and tried to get into other people's rooms. It was just a wild situation.
There was a bag
he had
involved.
This huge knockout against Kamaru Worthy, and now, I mean,
a
whole lot of nothing.
There was a bag involved in the story. Nobody knows what was in the bag, but there was a bag involved. Dana White said that there was a bag. Crazy story. We don't have a lot of information of what really happened. I feel like maybe the UFC is protecting the story or hiding it, Crazy story. I don't know really what happened, but to talk about this fight, man.
Listen, our man went in there and whooped Matt Favola's ass. That's what happened.
Yeah, but kudos to Matt for accepting this fight. I feel like, both of them.
Both of them took the fight on the same amount of notice.
Yeah, it went on one side, but it was a decision win. At the end of the day, I feel like Matt will have another chance to redeem himself against another fighter where he's more prepared. But yeah, it doesn't really hurt your career, I feel like, to lose by decision at this stage. And picking a fight like
Not
last
against
minute.
Somebody like Arman. His performance that he was able to put on, it's a complete flip side of Antonio Carlos Jr., right? Where he only had 1 of 12 takedowns. Arman hit 10 of 12. Arman hit 3 in the first round, 4 for 4 in the second round, 3 for 3 in the third round, with a 4 minutes and 36 seconds of control time in the second round. That's of a 5-minute round. 2 minutes and 31 seconds of the third round, so half the round, and then 1 minute and 17 seconds in the first round. What a beautifully dominant performance by Arman, and I'm excited to see what's next for him in his lightweight division.
Well, Arman in the UFC only lost to Islam Makhachev, and
that's no slouch. That was on short notice as well, correct?
If I'm not wrong, yeah. So losing to Islam, it's logical. It's like losing to Khabib, and you learn a lot from losing against a guy like Islam or Khabib. We've seen it with Dustin in the main event. So Arman really looked good, and really, really excited to see what's next for him. There's a lot of good fights in the lightweight division, and
Tons of great fights in that division. I mean, you can even run it back with Islam.
That would be good. Nobody wants to fight against Islam, so we have the balls to fight against Islam. That would be amazing.
That was the featured prelim of the night. The very first fight of the main card, Marina Rodriguez taking on Amanda Ribas. What a beautiful performance by Marina, going in there and getting the knockout 54 seconds into the second round. If you would have told me that Marina Rodriguez was going to knock out Amanda Ribas, I'd have been like, all right, totally doable. Had you told me she was going to do it in the fashion that she did it in, I would have been like, you guys are crazy. She literally went in there and fucked up Amanda Ribas. Amanda Ribas is a very good black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Why she wasn't trying to get this fight to the ground more, especially when she already secured the first takedown in the first round, which she almost, had control of the entire round. Why she didn't run back in there and try to get her right back to the ground in the second was beyond me. Why she thought she could sit in there and stand with somebody like Marina Rodriguez was beyond me. But there she goes, making a beautiful, beautiful knockout finish, and definitely catapulting herself right up in there for that flyweight division.
I agree with you 100%. As much as
strawweight division.
As much as the early prelims and the prelims were kind of slow, we had a lot of decision fights. The main card, man, we had a lot of finishes, and this first one, yeah, Marina looked very, very good. I'm not sure what's next for her, but definitely a top contender. Definitely, she would be fighting against the top dogs in this division, and I feel like that title fight is not that far.
No. Again, that strawweight division is super stacked. You have Rose possibly being next. Like I told you, my pick, Jan, I believe she's going to be the girl coming out of 2021 with that strawweight title. Again, Marina Rodriguez catapults herself into a short list of contenders in that division.
Yeah, this division is personally in the females division. This one is my favorite. I feel
it's almost one of my favorites in all of MMA, and that's how good it is. Yeah. Constantly entertaining fights, title fights never disappoint. It's always fucking dominant performances or very good fucking fights. Rose versus Joanna was great. Joanna versus Wei Li was great. All the performances that Joanna put on before that, even the one against Esparza versus Rose for the title, just to start off the division, it's been fucking great, man.
This is what having a phenomenal champion like Joanna do to a division. When you have we seen it in the flyweight division with the Henry Cejudo, charismatic, winning big fights, and the more the champion make noises, the more people fighting in that division wants to beat the champion to make that kind of money. So Joanna really made this division really relevant, and what we're seeing is completely logical.
Andrew Sanchez gets that L against Makhmed Murdov. Let me tell you what, that knockout was fucking dirty.
It was.
It was dirty. Jason Herzog steps in 2 minutes and 59 seconds into the third round because Andrew Sanchez could no longer keep himself up.
Yeah,
I didn't know Makhmed had that type of power in his hands.
It was a close fight, man. Until that moment, I feel like Mahmoud was winning the fight, but he was
winning for sure too.
But sometimes shit happens. You say, yeah, it's a close fight, but everything can go in the judge's eyes and in the third round, But that finish was surprising, like you said. I wasn't expecting it, but
like I said, I didn't know he had that flat. I didn't know he had that power.
Man, these Russians, man, they are fighting like in the top level, and he's not from Russia, but from Uzbekistan. But you know what I mean, like this. Eastern European, they do everything. They grapple, they strike, they do it all. There's
definitely something in the water up there.
They're in the gym like 24 hours. Some of them really sleeps in the gym. They were sleeping in the gym because they don't have really money. Those are poor countries, so MMA for them is like the only maybe way to make a living. So yeah, they are killers. There's a lot of killers down there.
Well, we have some killers out here in Vegas as well. Yeah. Joanne Calderwood is one of those women's flyweights who just puts on beautiful performances out of beautiful performances. It's crazy what she's able to do with her dexterity with that fucking lead left leg, man. When you see her just throw it up there effortlessly, it's a thing of beauty. I believe DC talked about it in the telecast, but I noticed the same thing, man. Like I was like, man, I wish I could fucking just fling my leg up there like that. Like she does it effortlessly. She lands beautifully. 148 significant strikes in a 3-round fight. Obviously, it's no Max Holloway, okay? Not everyone could be Max Holloway, but that's pretty fucking impressive as it is. Jessica Eye landed 77. It was a good fight. I definitely thought, though, as the fight kept going, JoJo just continued to excel to where Jessica would slow down. And obviously by the second and third round, you could tell that Joanna Calderwood was the better fighter.
Yeah, Joanna really is evolving to another level. Jessica Eye, I feel like she had so many wars, so many big fights, and she already lost to the champion. And I think that is JoJo time. The only issue I have with JoJo sometimes during the fight is I don't know. Sometimes I feel like she lose concentration or some stuff like that. Sometimes I feel like she gets hits with strikes that she should not be hit by. I seen, if you remember her third round against Caitlin Caucasian, she was thinking that she was winning the fight, and she didn't perform in that third round, and she lost. And she's getting better at staying focused in the whole three rounds. But JoJo really, if she gets her brain really focusing during the whole fight, I feel like she would be winning even easier. That's just my opinion. That's what I see. Sometimes I see her getting takedowns and getting hit by strikes that really she has the ability to avoid these things. And I don't know. I don't know if it's just me, but personally, that's what I see in JoJo. I feel I see a lot of potential, but I also see a fighter that can really still really evolve.
For those of you keeping track at home, Marina Rodriguez won a Performance of the Night bonus. Makhmed Muradov, Performance of the Night bonus. Yeah. And Michael Chandler, man, in his UFC debut, goes in there, knocks out Dan Hooker in the very first round. 2 minutes and 30 seconds is all it took for Michael Chandler to put his claim into that lightweight division. Called out everybody when he was done.
Everybody.
And I can't wait to see what is next for the former Bellator lightweight champion, now current UFC fighter.
He called out Khabib, he called out Conor, he called out my mom, he called out everyone, man.
Bro, I thought he was going to fucking have a... Listen, the greatest promo I've fucking seen in a very long time. It was very Ric Flair-esque.
It was intense. Yeah, it was intense. You've seen like the fire in him. The good thing is, he almost wasn't hit. I don't want to insult Dan Hooker, but he wasn't really hit. Nothing
had landed 8 significant strikes, 8 total strikes of the night.
Yeah, nothing really important. You know what I mean? He could, and he should be back as soon as possible. Michael Chandler is not a young man, so he should be rushing it. That's what he should do. And as long as he's in a winning streak right now, he should be really rushing for that fight. Man, his last 3 fights were a first round finish, and people really didn't see like even maybe not even like half of what he can do. People didn't see his grappling. Man, if you want to see really Michael Chandler, go back and watch some of his Bellator fights. The man can do it all. But what a sick finish, man. To do that to Dan Hooker, that's not easy. That's not an easy job to do.
Not at all. And just to clarify on your comments of him not getting hit at all, there was 8 significant strikes landed on Michael Chandler. They were all to his leg. There was 1 strike thrown to his body. It was missed. 6 strikes thrown to his head. Michael Chandler dodged every single one of them. Obviously, barely being touched. 100% is able to go up against anybody within 6 weeks. Who do you see Michael Chandler facing next? And do you think that he has done enough to possibly get himself in that lightweight title picture next?
Well, if it was another division, I would say yes. But the thing is, in the lightweight division, there's so many killers, so many people that have been fighting to climb this ladder in the UFC. First fight, first win, first round knockout. He's in the 4th place in the lightweight ranking. Personally, I won't be mad to see him fight against Charles Oliveira. I feel like that's a very interesting fight. Is he going to be the one fighting against Dustin Poirier? Man, I'm not sure, because Dustin really deserved his place as a number 1 contender. But Michael Chandler, man, to fight directly for a title fight, that would be kind of insulting for the Charles Oliveira, for the Tony Fergusons, for the people that been really, really grinding. Killing. Justin Gaethje, maybe he should be involved at some place. He's number 2 right now in the rankings. So who knows? Maybe he wants to run it back against Mike and try to be champion. So yeah, definitely maybe Conor. A lot of interesting fights ahead for Michael Chandler.
Interesting fights, man. I'm excited to see what the future has in store for Michael Chandler.
If you have
I'm
to
excited
pick a fight.
to see if I had to pick the next fight for Michael Chandler. I honestly think it's Oliveira.
Yeah, me too.
I truly think it's Oliveira, and if it's not Oliveira, it's Gaethje.
Exactly. I feel like Justin, Charles Oliveira, and Chandler, like the three of them deserve a title fight, but
Hmm.
they don't deserve it as much as Dustin. So I think
Yes.
that
Dustin,
they
without
should win
a
another fight.
shadow of a doubt, should be one half of the next UFC
100%,
title fight.
100%, 100%.
Now, is he the A side because he's the highest contender in a vacant title fight, or is he fighting Khabib Nurmagomedov in a rematch?
I don't see Khabib coming back personally. Don't
My
forget,
thing is, I didn't honestly think he was going to be back for the last fight. I truly, when his father passed away, I told you this. I don't think we would have ever seen Khabib Nurmagomedov again. Now hearing what his mother said about
yeah,
him, I don't want you to fight without your father there. And everything I've learned from you about your guys' culture, I don't see Khabib Nurmagomedov coming back at all. And I told you that on Saturday. Khabib's done.
I can tell you something. Khabib can what he can do. He's 32-year-old. He's not that old. He's still young. Uh, didn't receive a lot of damages. What Khabib can do is sit back and wait for the arenas to be opened again to everything, and maybe like
Mm-hmm.
in 2 years or whatever, fight in a stadium in Russia for his 30 fights and get like $100 million. That's what he can do. He can sit back. His stock will not drop. He's undefeated. The more he waits, the more people will be calling him out. So Khabib should be waiting.
And then
Maybe we
also
will see.
too, the bigger the fight becomes, say it's Chandler, okay?
Yeah,
If Habib doesn't want to come back till next year, that gives Chandler an opportunity to get at least 2 more fights in. If Chandler can knock out Hooker, knock out Oliveira, and then face somebody like a Dustin after that, that
yeah,
dude would have literally built himself a resume that Khabib Nurmagomedov wouldn't blush at and would possibly intrigue the man enough to get himself into the cage. The one person who I thought had the most power to get Khabib into the cage was Conor McGregor.
he
Unfortunately,
is.
because of what happened on Saturday night, Conor
But he's
McGregor lost. I don't see it happening. You see how big Conor McGregor's loss was just throughout combat sports in
yeah,
general. Manny Pacquiao, the very next day after Conor loses, announces he's going to be fighting Ryan Garcia.
yeah.
I mean, crazy. What an MMA fighter the effects of him losing has on combat sports as a whole. Boxing even made decisions on his loss.
Yeah, but
It's wild.
as an MMA fan and as a Conor fan, that's the best thing that could have happened.
Yes.
The fact that Manny Pacquiao was fighting against Ryan Garcia. And
Mm-hmm.
just to clarify something, yeah, Khabib, right now, the only guy that can bring him back is for sure Conor. But to say that Khabib doesn't really want to fight at all, I think that's not true, because if he didn't, he would not be posting shit about Conor when he lost. He posted an Instagram story where there's Conor like being on the ground, and he posted something about something that nobody, and I mean nobody, really understood. The saying that that's what happened when you change camp and you're not,
Yeah.
nobody understood it. Nobody. uh, Only if Khabib has like some informations that we don't have. I didn't understand this.
Listen,
I personally think that
Ali
Conor
needs to
should be
take his
bringing a lot of
goddamn
people.
Twitter account.
Yeah.
Okay, Ali's the one sitting there writing all that shit. Let's be serious.
Let's be serious. Yeah, but personally, I don't know what he was talking about. Maybe that's the issue. Personally, I've been talking like to my cousin about this. He called me like at 8 a.m. of the morning. Of course, everybody contact me every time Conor lose.
Dude,
Like
my
I'm his
phone
dad.
would not fucking stop ringing that
My
night. It was like
God.
midnight our time, and people were still hitting me up. And my lady's like, "What is that?" I was like, "Dude, the biggest fucking star in MMA fucking lost. What did you think was gonna happen afterwards? Like, do you think no one was gonna hit me up?"
Yeah, of course. And what can I say? I think we should jump in into the main event. That's what I think. That's what I think right now that we should do.
Crazy shit, man. Conor McGregor just didn't look himself. He
Did it?
was completely flat-footed. I said it to you before we started recording. After he beat Aldo, he said that timing beats speed and precision beats power. why did he go to speed and power all of a sudden instead of timing and precision? It was not Conor McGregor, at least the Conor McGregor that we're used to seeing. He was really loading up on his shots, kind of like he was in the first time he fought Nate, just expecting to knock him out just effortlessly. And it just did not happen. He hit Dustin with some big shots, rocked him a couple times, but he missed so many shots. His striking percentage was 43%, and that's not normal for Conor McGregor.
Not normal at all. Not normal at all. That's one of the first things that I actually sent you. Maybe the next day, I thought, like I said, that there was no precision. But man, do you remember like a couple of minutes when Conor was walking in, like working out? I sent you a message that tells you like last prediction. I'm not sure, I don't know if like you had the same feeling as me, but I don't know. During that walkout, I had like something telling me that fight is not going the way that we were supposed, like we were thinking. I don't know, like I felt like Conor maybe is feeling a little bit of the pressure or some shit like that. I seen something that I never seen in Conor, like just during that walkout. I'm not sure. Did you feel it like I did?
Just it seemed like he was just completely over concerned with the situation at hand. Yeah. And it was weird to me because the overconfidence that we're used to and the cocky brassness that we get from Conor McGregor, we just didn't see. And it showed in his entire performance. It was weird. It was a weird fight for Conor. And I feel like that's just kind of what happens. You said it yourself. When you surround yourself with yes men, it's weird because that's just not the guy that we're used to seeing. I honestly think this was the best thing that could have happened to his career if we want to see him more active. I feel like Conor usually bounces back after losses. He'll go home. It'll eat at him. It'll fucking drive him crazy. He'll want to get back in there and correct his wrong. Yeah. I think we at least see him 2 more times this year. I truly think we see 2 trilogies from Conor McGregor this year. I think Nate Diaz is next, and then I think we see Dustin before the year's done.
Don't get me wrong. Conor was focused. That was the motivated, focused Conor. My issue is he was too focused. Like, and it felt in his shots. He wasn't loose at all. Me and you were talking like he wasn't light on his feet. This is what makes him great. Actually, the fact that he was light on his feet every time.
Yeah, he puts all his weight on his toes.
Yeah.
But he was very flat-footed against Dustin. It was
too flat. Yeah.
But listen, let's not take anything away from Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier had literally went in there with the best game plan possible. An American top team, you can credit them for that as well. He went in there, he chopped down Conor's leg, which was super smart. Immobilized him. When you immobilize somebody, their movement and their mobility is completely shot. When he backed him up against the cage, I just don't think Conor was able to press up off his foot to get out of that situation.
Yeah, he couldn't. But man, that performance by Dustin was amazing. He did exactly what he needed to do. We can argue if he won or he lost the first round. Personally, I think Conor won the first round, but on the judges' score, but in reality, Dustin is the one winning the first round. I'm not sure if he'd really win like by points, but in my head, even if he lost by points, Dustin was the true winner of the first round because Dustin's game plan was to survive the first round, to make it like to slow down Conor and like be a little bit comfortable with the striking. That's what he did. And Conor's game plan was to finish Dustin in the first round, and he didn't do that.
He wasn't able to do it.
So who executed the perfect game plan? That was Dustin, man. And
Dustin, for sure.
At the end of the first round, Dustin hit Conor with some clean shots and made Dustin feel more free and more like confident in his striking in the second.
You've seen the confidence just start growing from Dustin at the end of the first round going in. At the end of the first round, I thought Conor won the first round for sure. And then when you go into the second round, it's just completely one-sided. Dustin Poirier puts it on Conor, finishes him, and looks phenomenal doing so.
That was Conor's cardio was good. He was still standing up. He didn't sit down between the rounds. That's not an issue. Personally, I'm having an issue with Conor when it comes to kind of giving up. I'm not. One good thing about that is to not get hit with the strikes that will damage your career. Like he will bounce back after this fight. Like he did. He wasn't really hurt bad, or he had got any injuries. But the fact that he's not willing to almost die in the cage, and I'm not saying that what people should do, but I can guarantee you that Dustin is willing to die in the cage. Khabib is willing to die in the cage. Tony is willing to die in the cage. Chandler is willing to die in the cage. Dan Hooker died and was resurrected many times in the cage. Paul Felder, RDA, those are people that can die in the cage. You know, is Conor willing to die in the cage right now? I'm not sure, man. He was at some point. Now, I'm not sure, man. It's because it's all good to have like these clean strikes to be more precise, to be whatever. But if you're not willing really to really, even if you're hurt, man, Thiago Santos, his ACL was fucked up against John Jones, and
MCL,
he finished.
PCL.
He finished his 5 rounds, was throwing kicks with it. You know what I mean? And if you're not willing to do that, I'm sorry, but you will not win fights in this division. You should be willing to, you know, and personally, this is where I say that, and this is the next topic we're going to talk about, which is what is next for Conor first and then Dustin. Personally, this is where I think that his next fight should be against a guy like Tony, because Tony will insult Conor and he will bring the fire back to Conor.
Yes.
And Conor needs to be
like, it's not going to be like when Dustin and Cowboy was super respectful. It's crazy.
Who do you think should be next? Give me one name. Don't tell me, because we know that he should be. It's either Tony or Dustin or you know, or RDA, or give me one name and why.
Before we talked earlier, I was super set on Dan Hooker. I thought that was a great matchup for him. I thought those two, but then you mentioned something, RDA. It was right below him in the rankings, and I feel like they were already set up to fight once. It's a great matchup for the both of them, and I feel like it'll evaluate Conor to a sense where he should be. You know what I mean? I feel like we overvalued him, but undervalued him at the same time, where we thought he was unstoppable. But let's be fucking serious. It's MMA. They're wearing 4-ounce gloves. Literally anybody is stoppable. So if you're, you know, unless you have a style like Khabib or, you know, Kamaru Usman, where you're very top heavy and you have a lot of control time, when you go in there and bang with guys, you're going to end up dropping, you know, dying by that same sword. And that's exactly what's happened to Conor McGregor now a couple of times.
Well, he was, personally, I feel like he was kind of unstoppable.
No one's ever knocked out Conor like that, though.
Yeah.
Fucking Dustin, man. Sat him on his ass.
He was unstoppable in the featherweight division during that rise of him. He was really unstoppable. I feel like nobody would be able to defeat him at that point with that roster. But when you move to the lightweight division, man, there's so many killers, so many people that don't give a fuck at all. And personally, I need to ask you, because RDA is a fun fight. You know, that was supposed to happen back when RDA was a champ. But winning against a guy like RDA and winning a guy like Tony, like, do you think that there's more? Like, what if you?
Definitely. Even though RDA is a former lightweight champion, I definitely think there's more value in Tony Ferguson's name at this point.
Exactly. So do you think that's another question? Do you think that Conor should be, because he's always been rushing for the fights that will give him the title fight back?
Protecting his legacy right now and fighting the smartest fight.
Okay. So you think that he should be moving like more?
I wouldn't say a safe fight, but I would definitely say a winnable fight.
Do you think Dan Hooker is a safer fight than RDA? Stylistically.
Yes.
I personally think so too.
I think Hooker's very long, and I think that might give Conor problems, kind of like Nate did.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now, we should be talking about Dustin, man. Dustin, what do you think is next for him? Dustin deserves a big fight, not only money-wise, not only, like, he deserves a title fight.
Is Khabib coming back, yes or no?
Khabib is not coming back in 2021. Nor 2022. Personally, I feel like he would be back in 2 or 3 years.
Gets the next title shot for sure. I think, in my opinion, Charles Oliveira has done enough to earn himself to be the B side of that title shot against Dustin Poirier. And if it's not him, I think you can give Justin a rematch as well. I think Justin could possibly go in there against Dustin, see what that fight. I think Dustin Poirier wins that again, though. It'll be an interesting matchup for sure. I definitely think Dustin gets the next title shot. I just can't really pinpoint who. I think Charles Oliveira is probably a betting man's favorite, though.
I agree with you, man. But Dustin should. I think that right now he should sit and wait for the outcome of the next big fight between Chandler, Oliveira, or Gaethje to see who's next. Just to ask you, let's say Volkanovski wins his fight against Brian Ortega and he still is champion, and they don't give Holloway a title fight against Volkanovski. If the UFC somehow, some way thinks that they should run back Holloway against Dustin, do you think it's good? Because right now
I think you see Dustin Poirier fight Conor McGregor before you see him fight Max Holloway next.
Okay, because in 2021 right now, the maybe two hottest fighters when it comes to their name is. We're still in January.
I feel like Max Holloway has a lot of unfinished business in that featherweight division. And I don't see Dustin ever going down to featherweight again. I honestly see Dustin going up to welterweight before I see him fighting a featherweight, even if it's at 155.
Dustin said some interesting things, saying that he's hating the fighting game right now, but because he's a dog, he will keep on fighting. What do you think about this phrase that he said, these quotes? Do you think that does this mean that there's more fire in him? Like, what do you think? What was it all about?
Yeah, I just feel like he, as a father, just doesn't like to hurt people anymore. You know what I mean? It's a fucking gnarly sport, and sometimes you hurt people to the extent where they don't come back the same. You could not come back the same. I mean, look at Michael Bisping. His eyeball falls out sometimes. Nick Lentz lost part of his vision. We hear about people all the time. I mean, fuck, I truly think BJ Penn has CTE. I truly fucking think that.
You think so? This is a fucking guarantee that BJ Penn has a lot of brain issues right now.
Yeah, 100%. It's a crazy time for these guys. So yeah, I see him, being, 30-something years old, having kids. I see him looking at his life after fighting and maybe wanting a little more than these other guys have.
Yeah, I agree with you. Fun. A lot of
Plus,
things that...
you're in the lightweight division, bro. You got fucking killers around you. There's no easy fight when you're on the top.
No easy fights, man. Anything else? I think that we talked about everything that we needed to talk about. The UFC 257.
Performances on 257. Let me get 3 performances real quick.
Well, we need... Personally, I think that's 2 out of the 3 performances that we will agree about was Dustin Poirier and Chandler, man. We don't need...
Sure.
Yeah. So I think that we just only need to pick another one. Personally, I was impressed with the first fight of the card, Amir Albazi, man. Really, I feel like that performance, even though it was in the early prelims, this is how, when you're fighting in a big pay-per-view, really everybody's watching you, and Amir Albazi really...
All kinds of... when you fight on a Conor McGregor card, your status just blows up if you have a good performance.
Amir Albazi, for me, really performed amazingly, and man, that performance really made me think. He was in the top 15 in that fight. Now he's the number 13 in the flyweight division, just to tell you.
Great division.
So flyweight division really impressed. What was the fight that you need to pick other than the main event and the co-main event?
For me, actually, I do have 3 names for you. Joanne Calderwood, man, she looked phenomenal. Brad Tavares looked very good. And then Juliana Pena, I feel like with one more win, she could see herself right in that women's bantamweight title picture. Marina Rodriguez, though, if I have to choose just one, is the one I'm going to choose. The performance she was able to put on against somebody like Amanda Ribas was phenomenal, and I cannot wait to see what's next for her in this strawweight division.
Man, a lot of interesting fights and interesting questions that need to be asked, man. The flyweight division is looking better than ever. The lightweight division, people are great, man. The 2021 I feel it is a good year for an MMA
so
fan.
Far.
Great.
Yeah, up next we have Vulcan versus Curtis Blaze, correct? No, Vulcan versus Alistair Overeem.
Yeah, can we talk about like the next big title fights? We have Kamaru, we have
Kamaru versus Gilbert Burns is an amazing fight. We have Israel Adesanya versus Jan Blachowicz. We have Amanda Nunes. Stipe versus Francis is another good one. Aljamain versus Jan finally is going to go down, man. I'm excited.
Versus Volkanovski.
There are so many great fights coming up.
If everything goes to plan, 2021 may be one of the best year of the UFC. Personally, I think the numbers that they can, because 2020 was difficult with the pandemic and everything, and UFC did very, very good.
Everything out, you know what I mean? That took a couple weeks as it was.
But they did very, very good for a year where nobody did good. The UFC did very, very good. So this year, with Dana White's brain, knowing what she should do, 2021 will be an amazing year.
Yeah, no, I can't wait. Anything else on the UFC 257?
Man, amazing card, amazing main event. Kind of, I was rooting for Conor, me and you. Yeah. So kind of frustrated with his performance. Not the fact that he lost, but more
Dustin just proved us wrong.
Exactly. Dustin, man, nothing shine bright than diamond. And Dustin really, really shined that night.
Did you just hit us with some Rihanna?
Maybe. I don't know.
Well, on that note, we are going to go ahead and let you guys go. If you have stayed this long, I'm guessing you probably have no life and you're weird, but we fucking love you guys. And make sure to tell your friends about us, because that's the only way people know about us. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good shit. For sure, comment. Like, let us know you're listening. We'd love to interact with you guys more, so whatever you guys can. Watch our interviews. I feel like our interviews are fucking going crazy right now. We have some more in the pipeline for you, so we'll get those out for you in the next week. But yeah, man, I'm excited. Up next, we have Volkov. We'll talk about that next week when we'll have Wally Wall back and do this all again. Knuckleheads, stay classy and don't ever stay ashy.
Peace.